Hey everybody. Trying to make sure my cat doesn't knock this off. What's up? Just gonna wait for Tegan to say something and then we'll start Friday. Oh, look at that. Funny face. Funny face. Oh. This is the same cat as it's actually Friday hot tea. There we go. Waiting for Tegan. Look at this guy. Hey, Tegan, what's up?
Hi, Jim. What's your cat's name?
This is Funny Face. Funny Face. Named after the movie that I can't think of right now. How's it going?
Good. I love your shirt. Is that an homage to Tegan and Sarah circa 2010?
Yeah. Yep.
We own stripes. So.
I got like 7 shirts, and I'm gonna pick out this one for today.
Hi, old friend.
Hello. How are you?
Are you drinking tea?
I am actually. Yeah, I'm taking a break from the beer.
Oh well, misleading.
Are you drinking gin?
I'm not drinking gin. I did bring a cider if I decide that I'm thirsty. I don't actually drink beer.
No, you know what? Almost nobody on here does.
What do people usually do? Does everybody pretty much drink though?
It's been about 50-50 maybe. So wine is popular.
Okay.
Topo Chico or LaCroix is popular.
Yeah.
I don't know if I said that right. LaCroix.
Well, I was gonna say one time we actually called the company because we were like, is it LaCroix or LaCroix?
What they said.
We got one time in the studio with Chris Walla, we couldn't figure out if Moog was Moog or Moog. So we called because we were like, oh, well, we'll just ask them. So we actually called the factory and Moog, not Moog. And
do they just,
and that's how we figured out. Look,
they just answer the phone. Hello.
Is it
Moog?
one?
Oh, that's awesome. Do you know where the title for the Beastie Boys Hello Nasty comes from?
No.
So the PR company Nasty Little Man, which is a great Steve Martin, great guy, great company. So when you call Nasty, they answer hello Nasty.
Oh my God, that's so funny. I missed the story because my internet connection was bad, but hopefully now you can see me and everything's fine.
Yeah, what's up with the internet in Canada?
It's a good question. I feel like the internet here is as good or as bad as it is everywhere else, but I do believe there are times of the day where it gets real hot around here. I think a lot of people. So sometimes I feel like I have to get off the internet. So I also, at the beginning of the pandemic, as everyone flooded Instagram Live, Sarah and I had like a sit down, but socially distant sit down where we were like, okay, we're not going to play on the internet because I would constantly be on people's Instagram Live and they'd be like, well, we're not going to be those assholes. That's for sure. We're definitely not. And then
I'm so glad that you did though, because that has been such a bright spot in this pandemic.
Yeah, well, we decided that we could talk because talking at least erupted or frozen. One of us could keep talking, but if we were performing and something happened, we would just have to restart again because I can't be interrupted while I'm performing or else I can't restart where I like stopped, so I have to go back to singing. So it would just be one endless performance of me starting the song. So
So good. And I'm gonna explain my weird stance right now because I usually have like a thing that holds the phone with the light. Um,
okay.
and I can't find it. So now I've just balanced the phone on a keyboard, which is being held on.
Kind of like leaning in like a real host right now.
Yeah, this is gonna be a deep interview.
Okay, look, I'm opening my cider. So even though
Oh,
you're just,
yeah, right.
yeah.
As long as one of us, yeah, it is kind of misleading, but at the same time, what I want to do, cheers. What I want to do is reassure people that you can go to Friday Beers and not drink if you don't want to. So,
Yeah, totally. No,
you know,
absolutely.
because
I admit,
sometimes
I watched Where Does the Good Grow, so you probably saw me admit that I'm drinking on the show a lot.
yeah,
Because I have shit to do. I can't have a drink in the middle of the day. I got shit to do.
I don't have that much shit to do, but also sometimes you just need a break, right?
Yeah, yeah, yes, 100%. What I need a break from during this pandemic is potato chips because it was a slippery slope for me. I started off the pandemic being like, you know what, just because it's a pandemic doesn't mean that I can misbehave. Still gotta go running every day and not watch too much TV and be productive. And then all of a sudden, weekend chips turned into every night chips.
Yeah,
So I'm taking a break from chips.
that's a good idea. I'm taking a break from chips as well, a bit of
Mhm.
gluten. Just trying to get maybe August is going to be real healthy, real healthy.
Okay, love that. I love that. Are you building up to something? Something
Just
happening?
just our birthday. I just want to storm into our birthday real fit, you know.
Leash birthday. We're birthday
Yours,
friends.
yeah, yours is a big one this year, huh?
It is. I'm turning 28, so it's a really big
Oh,
deal.
the
Yeah,
big
no,
one.
I'm turning 40 years old.
I know. We are exactly 4 years apart. That's how I.
I couldn't remember if it was 2 years or 4 years.
Yeah. No, I'm old.
You don't, but you're distinguished looking. It's totally fine.
The ultimate compliment.
Sorry.
Um, I'm I'm going for like French port worker. That's what I'm going for.
Port worker?
Port. Yeah, like I'm working at the port.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I think I think aging is for me personally like it's not really that big of a deal. Like I don't age, I know especially for women in our business as musicians there tends to be a limit to what women can do at a certain age. This does not seem to hold men back, but does seem to hold women back. And for me, I just reject that and just don't care. But so I'm really embracing it. But I remember my parents turning 40, so that's where I get stuck. Is that I have a
Yeah.
memory of my parents 40, and they didn't seem old. Like they were hip, they were cool, they were really relevant, they were culturally really up in the know, and they liked music, and they were both hot. So I try to remember that, but I
Yeah.
also remember thinking they were old too. And so I guess I'm
It
old.
it seems like it's old, but then it's not. And then you start looking at your friends that are turning like 50, and you're like, damn, 50. That's old. But then it's really not. None of this. And plus, I think I feel like a lot of those rules, if they're not changing, are sort of getting thrown out. So sort of what we're allowed to do at whatever age is changing a bit. Like I don't think 20 years ago I would be necessarily having the career that I'm having now, which is sort of like
Yeah.
I do this a bit, right? So I think it used to just be like all or nothing, right? Like you have to be like a star or you have nothing. And I really love sort of like cruising in and out of this lifestyle. And
I, I wonder if there was a ton of cruising in and out of success and, hitting different plateaus and climbing and adjustments and changes and evolution. But the internet, and social media has allowed us to be more aware of it. Because I would agree. I think that when I was coming up at the beginning of our music career, there was just what was presented on MTV or in the mainstream. And it took a number of years to get to a place where I felt like successful, but that still was fully a world in the underground that had nothing to do with MTV or the mainstream.
Yeah.
And like nowadays we kind of sway in and out of the mainstream and out of, traditional popularity, but there's a whole world, there's a whole universe like of artists existing, flourishing, thriving, being successful that aren't conventional or being given the kinds of attention you used to think you needed to succeed. And it is really empowering. It is really exciting. You can make whatever you want of this, I think.
It did seem like probably up to around 2000 was like a one-way, very few lanes, right? It was kind of like the biggest bands were over here, and then a bunch of us were kind of like behind them or to the side, and now it just feels like there's no roads. Like you can be anything you want. There's people that sell or stream or whatever zillions that I've never heard of. That are super, and that's awesome. And then there's, I think this sort of interaction. I mean, not you and I, like we're friends, we'll talk on the phone or whatever, but just this stuff where you can see people writing things and you can talk to people. So this whole pandemic, I've had this like whole new level of interaction, and because I know you guys are the same. Like you go out after shows, you hang out, you're not elusive or whatever. This has been like a whole new level of talking to people, and I found it really, really interesting.
Yeah, I like it because we did become, I think, certainly to some of the like long-term, fans of our band who have been around since the days where we did sell merchandise and stand out in the front of the venues. We did that till about 2007, and then we did kind of have to pull back a bit, just partly just sheer exhaustion and
Yeah.
just adapting to this new world, and there was just more people, and it became kind of taxing and at times dangerous. But I think that's why we were early adopters of social media and embraced the sort of move to digital and virtual, because it did give us access to the supporters of our band, and I really liked that. And I would agree with you that certainly over the last 10 years, but definitely since the pandemic, there's been a recognition that, oh yeah, there's really kind of a myriad of ways to connect to our audience, and we want to all of them. This Sunday we're doing a Zoom chat with t-shirt. We have a t-shirt the club gets to do
Yeah.
a Zoom with us. And I love that. I love that we're experimenting with new ways to connect. And, I think even after the pandemic, I love the idea of us continuing to do that, because there are like limitations on as an artist now on doing like the VIP meet and greet, paying. Like I hate all of that. I actually hate it. You're so rushed to like people's money to meet you. It feels really gross. And then you're rushing them out, and then there's germs, So I'm like excited to kind of experiment more with this stuff, because it is really nice to like see the comments, check in with people. I love Zoom. I love seeing people's lives. I love peeping into people's lives.
I've thoroughly enjoyed watching you and Sarah on the Where the Good Things Grow, right? Is that what it's called, Where the Good Things Grow? Just watching you guys talk, because it's maybe, I know a lot of people say the favorite part of the show is the interaction, and this whole new. And then I told you when your mom was on, that was like one of my favorite moments. She's great.
She could have her own, she could be like an influencer.
Yeah, I would. I'm a fan. What's the?
Oh wait, I lost.
You guys.
Oh, you're...
Yeah, you back?
Yeah.
This North American internet connection is trouble.
I know.
We're there.
It's kind of like blurry now.
I'm blurry.
Yeah, but am I blurry for you?
Sorry. No.
Oh.
It's weird.
That's great. You look great. You look great blurry. You look like
distinguished.
Very distinguished.
Yeah.
For people who
I don't know what's going on with the internet.
Great.
Either we'll just keep going.
Keep going.
Yeah, we'll go as long as we can.
Yeah.
I lost my train of thought. Doesn't matter. Oh, I was going to tell people. So one of my favorite meeting of a band that I like stories is you guys, particularly because it was such a great day. I don't know if you remember the day in Germany. Do you remember that day?
I do remember that day very, very vividly, actually.
Did you hang out at the lake afterwards, or did you guys leave?
We did hang out at the lake, although we did not hang out after. We used the lake to bathe.
Yeah.
Immediately following our set. So, you know, many people believe that all of us are living this incredibly glamorous, very, very exciting, fancy life, but festivals are an absolute fucking nightmare garbage show.
Yeah.
You know, there's nothing great about pooping where all your favorite musicians have also pooped. And it's just disgusting. It's absolutely awful. Waking up at a festival, it really makes you question what it is that you do for a living. Then you play, and your faith is restored. But the waking up,
sometimes.
yeah, not always. But yeah, so that day, yeah, there was this great lake, and we had this wonderful friend of ours who was acting assistant tour manager, and she had walked me over to where the showers were, and it was just horrifying. It was, you know, just, and so after we played, I was heartbroken because I needed a shower, and it wasn't going to happen. I wasn't like going to go in there. So after we played, she snuck us off in a golf cart and took us out in a canoe to the lake, and then was like, get in the water and bathe, and we did, and it was really magical. You and I met that day.
Yeah, and I don't know why they let us act. Like, why did we have First off, the other thing to know about festivals is sort of unlimited alcohol, right? Like, there's no end to, you can get as fucked up as you want. Everybody does. You know, if you're a youngin in this game, you're probably getting pretty fucked up. We were just 21 then. We were so young.
Yep.
Probably had too much to drink. We stole a canoe if they didn't provide it. I don't know. Somehow we were canoeing across the lake at 2 in the morning or something. There was people passed out face down on the beach.
Oh my God,
I won't name who they are publicly, but I'll tell you later. It's pretty funny. It was like a hot mess. Why did they let us have boats?
I don't know why they let us have boats. I will say this, that time in my life, I didn't drink a ton, and we never stayed to the end of the rave, if you will. So I never got to see shit like that, really. Like, I didn't get to see that kind of stuff. But I will say that that period of time where we met, which was sort of like, what was that, 2008, I think that was?
Somewhere around there.
Yeah, 2008, 2009. Was a really eye-opening time for me, because we had sort of been very insular and didn't know a lot of bands, and I would count you as one of the first in like a time where we finally started to play festivals and meet other bands and meet artists that we really respected. And it was very eye-opening to meet people, and some people are totally fucking assholes, and some people are 1,000 times better than. And I remember leaving that festival in particular and could not believe how nice you were and how great it was to get to meet you, and how I felt so excited. I didn't hang out then again until was Vancouver the next time that we hung out?
Yeah. And
you were in town playing. You were opening for
it
was Velvet Revolver, right?
Oh, that one. Yeah. Yeah, that was it. I forgot about that one. We did. We hung out that time, and then the next time in Vancouver was the City in Color. Yeah, that was the first show of the Velvet Revolver tour, which was eye-opening.
I bet.
Talk about being, and it's one of those weird things where like some of the dudes on that tour you would imagine are just like the shittiest whatever, and they turn out to be like Duff McKagan is my favorite dude, one of my favorite people I've ever toured with. Like, just the nicest fucking guy.
That's so
talks
cool.
to everybody, sits in catering, talks to crew, talks to local crew, talks about the football game, whatever it is. He's one of the best. Yeah, it was super good. And somebody just said, love Scott R.I.P. Yeah, that was a tough one, right? He was kind of never really around, and we were there because of him. Like, we kept saying no, and they kept upping the offer, and it was our last tour on that record, so we eventually just took it for stupid money. But I think we had one night with him in Mississippi where he had his own bus, and it would usually leave right afterwards. And that night he stayed, and he and I just sat in the parking lot. Honestly, just sat in the parking lot 2 in the morning and drank beers and talked about like Jawbox and Discord bands and punk rock. And he was so sweet, such a good dude. Troubled though, you know.
It's funny, like, a myth about touring that everybody sort of imagines all the bands are always hanging out, but a lot of times, especially when you have a smaller band opening for a huge band, you never see each other, you know, because like a lot of the bigger artists, they just show up for the show, or they've been doing press all day, and like, you know, we first in a van, and you barely get to the venue and it's time for you to play, and then you got to get, you know, you sell merch for an hour and then you got to get in the van and keep driving, and so there isn't a ton of hanging out. And I think also as like women and queer women, we didn't do a lot of hanging out with the bands that we opened for, because there was also a lot of like warnings, like don't drink, don't hang out with, you know, people you don't know, just be careful out on the road. And so
Yeah.
the tours where we met really cool people and bands were really awesome to us, they really stand out in my mind, because it is really magical. It can feel very like summer campy if you really like connect with the bands that you're touring with, and it can really help to ease the loneliness of like being on the road. I don't know if dudes feel the same kind of loneliness that girls do like on the road, but I feel like I feel like dudes, I'm touring with my best friends, it's like my dream, and I'm always like, I miss my girlfriend so much.
I think that sort of feeling, and I think there is that initially. So I started touring just after I turned 18. And so
Wow.
I was pretty young and hungry and was excited about whatever. And so the first, I'd say 2 or 3 years, were definitely like, this is the best thing ever. I could do this. Like, I'm not lonely at all. And then once you start establishing roots, like you have a girl at home, and, you know, at some point you get like a house and your cats. And then all of a sudden, and this is what I always tell people, like, there's no amount of money in the world that I would do this job for if I wasn't happy. Like, none. It doesn't matter, because I've made a bunch and I've made none, and none of that has anything to do with your mental health. And it's also one of those things that like we never talked about. Sorry, I keep refreshing my screen. We never talked about this 10 years. We never talked about mental health ever. Like, that was something that was a
No.
taboo, right? You couldn't say I'm depressed. You could only say like I need a drink, or like I'm super pissed at the world. Like, no one was just saying like I feel really lonely and sad, right?
Yeah. Well, it's one of the myths or misconceptions about being in a band is that I mean, because it's all we see. We see the glamour. We're all on Instagram posting our best shots of us at a photo shoot and our best shots of us on tour, and like the in between behind the scenes moments. There's certainly people that are invested in, you know, understanding that part of it, but culturally, we want to see the celebration and we want to see the party. We want to see the wins. And definitely when we started out, we were, and you know, our first big tour was opening for Neil Young. And, you know, pretty fucking hard to convince people that you're not having a good time, because everybody is like, we would be openly weeping sometimes and be like, it's so hard. And we drive 14 hours a day, and, you know, you get paid $100, and we play to people getting their seats and drinking beer, and everyone's yelling at us to show our tits. And people are like, but you're living your dream, right? Like, isn't it amazing? I mean, like, it's incredible, right? Like, and it's hard. You kind of just learn to shut up, and just you find your people to talk about it with, and you just accept that the idea of touring is so much better than what it actually is. And then, you know, then eventually it gets good, because it becomes your tour and becomes your show, and it gets more comfortable. But it's still hard. And you're right, we didn't talk about mental health back then. And you know, it's like a funny thing. I mean, the evolution of even just in our own career, and you've seen this firsthand too, of moving from physical to digital. Artists have had to sort of acclimate to a time where there's no value put on our art.
Yeah.
There's no physical value put on our art. It's all emotional. And so we're all rich. We're rich with emotional, you know, like payment for our art. You know, my life felt like I just spend every day being told, like, thank you for writing this record. Thank you for helping me come out. Thank you for doing what you do. This song means so much. And I feel rich. But, you know, there's not necessarily, you know, a value put on monetarily anymore to music. We take it for nothing. And that's and that's hard mentally, because you question, like, how will you survive later on, and how will you ever pay back your debt to your label, and how will you pay the people that work for you in a way that feels substantial and fair and equitable. And so, it is hard, and these are conversations that I think the average person doesn't necessarily need to be invested in, but certainly as artists, we have to talk to each other about more, because certainly the pandemic has put into perspective how hard it is for a lot of artists right now, how tough it is to make a living as it is. And then with the pandemic, with no touring on the horizon for at least a year, what's going to happen to so many of our smaller artists, to so many of our developing artists? What's going to happen to, it's wild to think about. It's not just about money. It's about, again, all the value on music is on the emotional value. And so how do we connect, and how do we up that for artists? It's going to be really interesting.
I'm so concerned about the next 6 months to a year of mental health in our industry. I think some of us will be all right. And this is, people that think, I was telling someone the other day, the people that you think are rich, or who cares if they can't tour? That is not as true as people think. And that's the one thing I kind of get defensive about, because I'm not, I've always been a blue collar musician. I've never sold 1 million records. Okay, I've sold 1 million records combined, but not at one time. And we're not I don't have a Lamborghini, whatever it is. And I think sometimes people take that for granted. And I'll tell you one instance for sure is owning, when we ran the venue here. So we had a venue for 7 years, and it's a 1,500 cap room. So we had some really great bands, some really big bands. And I would watch people come in and look at the merch table and then go and spend $30 at the bar. And and then they'd say, why am I going to pay $10 for a CD or $25 for an LP? I can listen to it for free. But all you're doing is drinking that $30. It got so infuriating to me, both as an artist and then an owner, because obviously we have to sell alcohol to stay open, which eventually was just pointless. None of this it's a snake eating its tail. Who cares? Just got to figure out another way of doing it.
Yeah, and I think there's a balance.
That's what I'm saying. Fucking buy merch.
Yes, people should definitely buy merch, and but I think that it's a balance point. And I know in the 90s and early 2000s, people were selling just absurd amounts of records. And as a musician starting out in the industry at that time, that's what you thought. You thought that was the ultimate, was that you would eventually sell 1 million records. And we made a living selling 10,000 records. So my understanding of the business really changed during that time, and I also feel really lucky because we became friends with a lot of bands early on who had sold 1 million records and also couldn't pay their mortgage. And so we were okay, we got to be really smart. We got to keep our budget really lean. We got to keep our tours really flexible. We always say, Sarah and I, that our band is an elastic band on a pair of pants. We can get really big, but we can also be really small if we need to. And it's what allowed us to open for bands so much of our career, which is ultimately how we made our band what it is today. We've only ever had 2 really big radio singles in 21 years. And one of those was on alternative radio and one was on pop. But the rest of our years, we spent building our audience through college radio and opening for other bands. And I hear a lot of bands these days, we've gone out to bands and said, hey, do you want to come out and open for us? And they're like, cool, can I get $5,000 a night? And it's no, we're theaters, look at what we're getting paid. No, but it takes investment. And I think that what a lot of people who, I know a lot of people are interested in how to support artists. And right now, how you can support them is buying merchandise, directly paying them on, places like Bandcamp, because artists have to invest to get things out there. For us to make a t-shirt, we have to take our money and invest in making the shirt and then getting it to you. And I think that was the first really big lesson we learned about being a band, is that it's going to take investment, physical investment, emotional investment, but also financial investment. And not every artist is created equally, and not every artist has the ability to go get that investment, and I think the first time you get a big check, you have to force yourself to put it in the bank and save it for the next investment. And I think that for a lot of artists, they don't want to do that or haven't been told to do that. And then it ends up being bad. So going back to what you were saying though about venues and spending on merch versus alcohol, I'll say like, I want people to have a good time and I want people to just love listening to music. And I'm not going to tell anybody how to consume music or how to have a good time at a show. But I think that we should all zoom out and think about what art means to us and what music means. And the days of making millions and millions of dollars for most of us are gone. And that's fine. That's not my aspiration. It's cheaper to make music now. I'm recording a record in my bathroom right now. Like there are ways that we can survive and thrive and exist without giant checks. But it would be cool if some of the people in our industry, not just the industry part, but like the other musicians saw that there were ways to give back, to create value for other artists, you know, to amplify smaller artists and to help them make money right now. Like that would be really cool, because I think we can all accept that this is the way it is, but there's more we can be doing and to be helping the artists who are making really cool music, but just nobody's going to hear it and they're just never going to make it through a time where they can't tour. I think we just have to do more to help, you know?
Yeah. And whatever, you know, I think whatever all of us can do, we will do. I mean, I know bands like yours and bands like mine will do whatever we can do, and hopefully bring up younger bands and try and I'm doing a thing where I'm just trying to I put this thing on Instagram and basically was like, I kind of miss the studio, so if you want to just send me stuff and I'll either work on it or critique it or feedback or whatever, like let's just open. So I just made it. I made an email address and I put it on Instagram and I got a shitload of stuff. It's pretty fun.
That's so cool. Like, so what are you mostly doing? Giving advice, or are you actually like recording? Like,
so right now I'm just trying to answer all the emails because I didn't count on. I thought, you know what I mean? I don't know what I was thinking would happen, but I mean, part of it is like I can't produce in a studio right now, so I would produce from home, and one of those things is I could produce smaller artists that probably normally wouldn't be able to afford travel and lodging and fee and all that stuff. So we could do more stuff just virtually, which is cool, like a way to connect on a different level now. But then also I'm just, I think I'm going to take bits and pieces from things and help people. And sort of like somebody wrote in and it was like, I've never really finished a song, but I have like 18 parts of songs that I've written in my life. Like, would you help me put it together? And I was like, sure. Like,
that's cool.
Well, and then somebody wrote in and said, you know, like people are just offering their services. Like, hey, I'm a mixer. If you get something going and you want it mixed, I'll mix it for free. And somebody else is a drummer, like I'll play drums on it. So I don't know what's going to happen yet, but it's an experiment and it's kind of fun so far.
I love that. I think that's really great. I mean, what that immediately resonates with me about is mentorship and the idea of, you know, giving back. And I think more artists, it would be so cool if more artists were doing it, because I think the industry, music industry benefits from all of us being really siloed away from one another. But I think that where we're at our most powerful is when we're working together as artists. You know, this is why collaborations do so well and why collectives do so well. And it's like, I think right now, one of the biggest gifts we can give to each other is knowledge. And I think sometimes it's really scary to imagine having to like talk about your process or what's happened to you along the way. But I know for me, one of the most valuable things that I have from the last 20 years are the conversations I've had with other artists. There's so many bands. I don't even want to say I mentor, but like so many artists and creatives that I talk to on a weekly basis who, to me, it's just like the door's open. Like, ask me questions. You know, I always say that when I hear about new, you know, queer bands, I reach out to them. Sometimes it feels really embarrassing because sometimes they don't write back because they don't know who we are, but I just write and I'm like, hey, me one.
But that's the best.
Like, if you need any, if you have any questions, like hit us up.
And this is actually one of the reasons that I was lucky enough to have you collaborate on that song that we did a long time ago, is that I do that all the time. I sent your management an email because we had met in Germany, but I didn't have your phone number or anything like that. And I just wrote your manager and was like, hey, can you just send my info? Like, that's it. And then I have a song, whatever the case is. Sorry, I'm trying to make sure my cat doesn't eat something at the same time. Hold on.
Yeah. No, that's great. Just leave me on here by myself. It's totally fine.
No, no, no. He just wanted to say hi.
Oh my God, that's such a pretty cat. What's the cat's name?
This guy's name is Stormy.
You have two cats, right? You had a
Yeah,
black one, I think, earlier.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. Funny face and Stormy. So, but I was gonna say,
right.
I'm the sort of person that sends, like I send records to people that I've never met, like usually through their management or what. And I think sometimes people think it's creepy, but I don't mean it as creepy at all. I just mean it like, hey, I really like your record. I wanted to send you. It's the same as like when back in the day when you're on tour and you would swap 7 inches. Like I would
Yeah.
always give our stuff to people, and I don't think they always appreciated it. But also that's like my form of communicating. And when you do sort of do that and make a connection, like you're a lifelong friend. Like
Yeah.
just because we met and we had a good day, and then we got to make a song together, and we've had a couple of meals together. It's awesome.
I think once we found out we had the same birthday, that was when I was like sold.
The
I was like, "Whoa,
collective.
this is a big deal." I felt like, I don't know why. I was like, I'll always remember that. We were standing outside, chatting outside the arena after you played, and I was telling you the story, and I mentioned my birthday, and you didn't even say anything. You just grabbed me and you like dragged me back through the arena into the backstage. And I was like, what the fuck's up with this guy? Weird. Taking around your bag, and you pulled out your passport and you handed it to me, and I opened it up and I was like, oh my God, we have the same birthday.
I like that I couldn't have just said we have the same birthday.
No, totally. It was so dramatic. It was like a very long, dramatic break.
Oh, that's funny. Sorry for the drama.
No, I love it. Like, again, it's really impacted, like left a mark, but that's the sharing of stuff. I mean, two of my closest friends are, musicians that just shared their music, very unique in different ways, but shared their music back in the MySpace days. And it was like, okay, great. I mean, this is how it happens now. We take, bands out on tour, or we, amplify voices on social media that don't often get heard. And it's really just, most of the people are just people who took a chance and reached out and said, hey, will you check out my music? And like, and it doesn't always work. I mean, like, obviously can't read every comment, can't connect to everybody, but I also was just going to say that I do think that it's a dude thing, though. Like, I would never email, like, say to my management, hey, will you email, this band and like tell them we're like fans or whatever. Like, I would be so shy and awkward. Like, I feel like I could never do it.
But I understand, like I'm so prepared for failure all the time. Like it
You're
doesn't
fine.
bother me at all. Yeah. So I
Yeah.
mean, I am shy, but I also just expect like, I mean, I have one of those emails in somebody's inbox right now, and like, I mean, I've been making records a long time. People can Google me; they know who I am.
Yeah.
But I send it out, and like when they don't write back, I'm like, well, you know,
Yeah.
not into it. That's cool. I mean, it doesn't make me happy, but I
Well,
also think part of it probably too is being from El Paso. Like we're pretty isolated, so um,
yeah.
really to go anywhere or do anything takes you kind of just have to like go for it. There's
I
kind of
love that.
there's no middle ground. Yeah, this would have been about the time that we were trying to. I've been trying to get your band here forever. You know that.
I know.
It'll happen.
Once that I can remember, maybe twice, but um, I know you and I have been literally talking about it for like 7 years, trying to get us there.
We'll get it.
I know it's gonna happen, but it's one of those weird things. I mean, you know this, like, where you announce a tour and you're like so excited to announce a tour, and you put the announcement up, and then the comment section is just like, why aren't you coming in to, or coming to, and then like insert city name. It's so hard. It's so hard. There's so many places to tour. There's so many places to go. And sometimes I don't have a good answer for why we don't go certain places, other than there's just no offer, right? People don't understand how touring works, but you have an agent, they get offers from promoters. If there's no promoter or venue that want to bring you in, it's so hard. But then sometimes there is a venue at a promoter, but it's like sometimes it's routing, and like, I don't know. But I fucking love El Paso. The memory of touring was we played this outdoor venue and the crowd went absolutely, like, it was just fucking amazing. The energy was incredible.
We have a great crowd here. It's like the best crowd, the best people to play to. Everybody here is so appreciative because it is hard to get here. We are a tertiary market, so a lot of times when people are looking at routing, we're like a third of the offer. So a lot of times people are like, although that's changing now because all of us have to tour all the time to make any money. So now we're starting to see more bands coming and maybe playing multiple nights on smaller clubs, stuff like that. Well, if there's clubs, we'll see how that goes. Don't jump. Sorry, this cat is being a bastard.
They just want to be famous.
He just wants, he likes to
Let
fuck
me keep.
Hi.
Ooh, I'm famous.
Sarah's the one with cats, right? You don't have cats.
Yeah, Sarah has 2 cats, Holiday and Mickey. My niece.
Those
They're
cats are
strange.
Insta famous.
But they're not like cats. They don't behave like cats. They don't do anything that cats do besides like lick their butts. There's literally nothing else that they do that's like a cat. They sit, they follow you everywhere, but they don't want to be pet. They don't want to get on your lap. They don't purr really hardly ever at all. Holiday does sometimes, but what's cool about taking care of them is they follow you everywhere. Like I've spent 2 or 3 days at Sarah and her partner Stacy's house taking care of the cats, and they always want to be near you. And it's really a strange thing for somebody like me who doesn't have an animal. It's a weird thing where you're constantly like, because they're just always there. It's fucking trippy. Yep.
Yeah, that guy. So Stormy, which is the cat that was just up here, he's like a full blown like mama's boy. Like he's with Christine all the time. He just left to go see her. So
That's
somebody just wrote that they drove to Las Cruces to see you play, which is I think the last time I actually saw you in person maybe was the Black Keys tour. You guys played in Las Cruces. That's like the closest to here.
Yep.
But that was fun. Got to hang for a minute.
Yeah, that was a cool tour. I like the Black Keys. That was really fun. It was like not really our audience, but the audience was really respectful. Like it wasn't a tour where, like we've opened for Paramore and we've opened for the Killers. We've opened for a lot of different bands, and there's been like a real palpable like connection. You can feel the audience really get it. And the Black Keys audience, I didn't feel that on stage, but it was an example of the audience that was really respectful.
So I think on those tours, like we had the same experience with, in At the Drive-In, we did like 2 weeks with Rage Against the Machine. That was our first arena tour ever.
Wow.
And that was a horrible experience up front because people they were so fucking brutal. It was insane. But what I found is the quality of fan that you got from those shows is ridiculous. So the people that saw us, that fell in love with us at those shows, are still fans to this. It wasn't like a throwaway experience for them. They were like really moved by the chaos or whatever. And then the same thing in Sparta with Pearl Jam. Sorry, this cat is, he's trying, this whole thing is set up, it's going to fall apart any minute. But same thing with Pearl Jam. Like you play to that crowd and they're very respectful. But most of the time they're like, I mean, we're here for Pearl Jam. And you're like, yeah, I don't blame you.
Things where I think it benefits a band to be both, like to be the headliner and to be support, and then to have an experience where they're like a good support act, like a good call, like this was a great match, the audience really got it, and also have horrible opening experiences, because I think then you get a real well-rounded understanding of what it's like to be in every position. And I think it would serve audiences to have had that same experience, because I think sometimes people do not understand. Like we opened for the Killers in America during Hot Fuss when their record exploded. It was an amazing tour. They had sold out an arena tour. We weren't on that tour. Like they basically blew up and they had this theater tour on sale.
Yeah, I remember that tour.
Yeah, and we were the opening act and it was so exciting, but we'd been booked and the tour sold out, and then they like exploded. So it was like an arena band playing theater. So the crowd was just lit. It was like insane. And it was such a good tour for us. I mean, we would sell like 500 CDs a night, it was really kind of just, they were radio music people just there. They weren't yet impassioned, invested in fans of the Killers yet either, right? Like these were just people that bought tickets to a band that have a song on the radio. And so I think sometimes that's the best kind of band to open for, because if you go open for a band that has like a diehard, invested, passionate audience, they just want to see the headliner. They're not really there for them. But so we took another Killers tour a couple years later, doing the UK. It was maybe like a dozen shows in the UK because we've been trying to crack the UK our entire career, but they hate us. And um, it was an arena tour, and I will never fucking forget. Like the first night of the tour, I'm pretty sure was in I think it was Scotland. I think we were in Edinburgh, and at the time, Jason McGurr, who plays drums for is Death Cab for
Yeah.
Cutie, he was drumming for us. He said he would come out and do a couple months playing drums for us, and the show was fucking brutal. It was like people were like had their backs to us.
Oh
Um,
yeah.
they could not have given less fucks. It was pretty fucking bad. And it was so bad that it was not that bad. Like for us, like we were like, this is a bad show. This is a
Yeah.
show, this proper arena of blokes who could not give a fuck. We could have
Yeah.
just exploded into flames and been like, killers, killers, just did not fucking.
Yeah.
And we were sitting after the way our dressing room was set up, there was like these shades that covered these windows and you could see the stage. And we just, after the Killers finished playing, we were sitting in the backstage and we turned all our lights out so we could still see the arena floor. And people were people were throwing up. There was like, a foot of beer cups. And I was
Yeah.
like, you know what? It's fine. Like, this was
Yeah.
not our crowd. This is not like
Yeah.
Tegan and Sarah, like, wait, where does the good go? Like, it wasn't going to happen. You know what I mean? These people were up there fucking playing Closer, like the most
Yeah.
pop song we've ever. Like, come a little closer. And they're like, fuck off, yeah, fuck off, get off the stage. Like, but it's a goddamn motherfucking dream, people. Don't you
Yeah.
see? Look at how fucking dreamy this is. And now I'm about to go
It's
back to like
that.
the equivalent of a UK Econo Lodge.
Yeah.
Fucking
It's the best life ever. I'm gonna sleep on a bus that smells like diesel fumes.
You know what? I take diesel fumes over piss, which is what UK buses generally smell like.
Yeah, it's a nice combo, really, what it is. It's a good combo. They should bottle it. It's
They
funny,
really should.
every time, whatever incense or freshener that they use on buses, whenever I walk by somewhere that has that, like, because all buses smell the same when you get on them, like that, whatever. I don't know what generic shit it is, but when you get on the bus and you're just like, oh, okay, it's that weird, oh man.
It's a mix. It's a mix of toilet cleaner, lavender, and then like a wet carpet that has dried too slowly. So like
Oh,
kind of so it's like
mildew.
lavender
Yeah,
toilet.
yeah, perfect. I can't,
Outside, it's
I
amazing.
can't remember, like, we had, I don't know, bus experiences, but I want to say we had a bus break down, and so they sent a temporary bus for the day or whatever, a loaner bus. And they're like, oh, it just got off. It was the crew for Marilyn Manson. It was like, just got off the Marilyn Manson tour as a crew bus. And we were like, no, no, I don't want to be on this bus. I don't want to
Our,
be on this bus at all.
one of our
It's,
best friends in high school, he's worked for us for like 12 years, and is like our best friend and is just a wonderful, incredible human being and adds such value to our lives by being on tour with us. He has done a lot of different things for us, but he's always on our bus with us, like Sarah and I's bus. And the first day of tour, he's on there with like an N95 mask and like gloves. Like, cause they
yeah,
always tell you the bus, but I'm like, nah, I don't know if they clean the way I want to clean. And he's just
yeah,
on with like Lysol and wipes. And it's, again, it's like one of those things that from the outside looks pretty luxurious and amazing. And as artists, you want people to think that. Like, I want people who love our music to think like, man, those bitches are having a great time. Like, I don't want
yeah,
anyone to feel bad for me. Like, I want people to know that I am living my dream. I am. We're artists. We're fucking living our dream. This is fucking amazing. But I also want people to know that when I go to bed at night, I'm sleeping in basically a coffin that
yeah,
gigantic men, sweating men, other people have had like, they've slept, they've sweat, they've done other disgusting things I won't say, they've had
yeah.
sex there, like just super upsetting things. And I don't know, like, do you think about that when you climb in the bunk? Because that's all I can think about.
I do. So I'll usually travel with like something that I can sleep in.
Like
Do you
a
know what
sleep.
I mean? Like a sleeping bag or whatever. It's
I bring all
probably,
my, I bring all my own bedding. That's part of,
yeah.
yeah.
So I'm at the point now where, and this is like a ridiculous conversation to have, but I'm to the point where I'm like, what does it take to just buy a bus? Like, because I like to build shit anyways. So like, what does it take to just buy an empty bus and build it myself from the inside out, and then go from there? And that way, I always know that it's my bus. Because if you think about it, in 5 years of touring, it would be paid off anyway. And if you start
Yeah.
Googling, and I hope you do, because we're both Virgos, I think you're going to start Googling bus shells. So start looking into bus shells. I'm telling you,
Okay. Okay.
it's not that impossible to think of.
Yeah. Okay.
Especially if you live
I
in,
like
I
it.
mean,
I like the buses are so gluttonous too, and I really feel grossed out by that. And I know, like, I don't know if you think about this, you know, because I don't know exactly, like, I don't know how much you tour, but like we've definitely started to think about the environmental impact of touring. You know, like semis and buses and vehicles
yeah,
sitting out use, you know, for 12 hours, 14 hours, AC running. Like, it's pretty gross. Like, it's pretty gross.
yep,
Like, there's a lot of guilt building up inside of me about the footprint of being a musician. And so of
yes,
late been thinking, like, how do we not tour in a bus, and how do we not fly as much? Like, how do we choose touring, and do we hub? Like, you know, I don't know. It's actually really hard. Like, we've looked into a lot of different things, and it's really hard. But with the bus thing, yeah, I think that's like my biggest grief around touring is the environmental part of it. And so I'm always thinking of like how we can offset just that. I know that's like a
yeah.
bummer. Nobody wants to hear that, but
No,
you know, it's
but it
true.
needs to be fun, and it's something. Yeah, we look at the same thing, and we can have a conversation later about this because we did a bunch of research into what it would take to tour um, multiple clubs, single cities. So we're
Yeah.
playing sort of like, and then looking at trains and looking at like one box truck versus a train, like all of that stuff. We did a bunch of research, and you're playing a different levels than I am, but
No,
I
there's
think it's important, and I think we all have to look at it.
yeah, we as musicians, we to be responsible, environmentally responsible, we have to think about the impact. But it's hard because I know a lot of artists are starting to look at like hubs where they play and people travel to see them. But like, that's just as bad. I mean, putting
Yeah,
thousands
no, it's just
on airplane, it's it's hard. But then you have to flip the coin and also like look at like what value you're injecting into the world by playing music, by providing
right.
community and representation and art to people. And I know you have to sort of have a line in your budget for that. We always have the emotional emotional damage line item, like, okay, so here's this show, it's going to pay this much money. So there's your net. There's your net, but I'm like, don't forget to put in damage of like
Yeah.
flying
Oh
across
no.
the show and
Yeah.
on your day or whatever. We're like, it's a deficit, can't do the show.
Yeah. Oh man. So fucking true. I think we're close to getting cut off, if you can believe it.
I love it.
This has
This was
been this has been this has been
enjoyable.
fucking unreal, Tegan. Thank you so much.
No, it's my
And
pleasure. So
thanks so
lovely.
much for your fans writing stuff and my fans writing stuff and everybody being so cool.
Everybody is so cool. We're very lucky to have so many lovely people who support the art and music we make.
Yeah. Oh, I can't
Life,
wait to see you in live.
I know. I wanted to ask, so like, life is good over there. You're doing okay and staying
We're
busy.
we have a restaurant and a band, so yeah, it's a little rough, but whatever.
Right. Oh, yeah. Right. Things that are COVID.
Oh, yeah, nailed it. Fucking nailed it. Well, anyways, we'll be good. We'll be good, and I'll talk to you soon. And thank you everybody for watching. I appreciate it. Next week we're gonna have Ben Kenny from Incubus is gonna be my guest, who's a fabulous musician and a great dude. Yeah. So guys, check it out. Tegan, thank you so much, and I'll see you hopefully soon.
Totally. Pleasure. Thanks to everybody watching.
Ciao. Bye. Whoa, there it goes. All right, everybody. Thank you. I wish that my stand was working, but it's not. So anyways, next week, Ben Kinney. And thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys soon. Bye.